Hey everyone, welcome back to the Heart of the Gala podcast. My name is Bobby D, and I'm so excited to have you join us today for this conversation that I have so many times with so many of our clients and so many nonprofits that we want to work with or maybe want to work with us. And today we're going to be talking about the two different type of donors that you're going to be having at your gala. So now there's a difference. We need to differentiate this. A auction is not a paddle raise, and a paddle raise is not an auction. An auction is a transaction method in which the market price on a current given day at a current place with a current group of individual bidders are the ones that set the marketplace. The highest bidder is the winner. Okay, auctions, all right, whether it's a silent auction or a live auction. Now, the paddle raise is a pure philanthropic moment in which your donors are able to give however they like, philanthropically, by just giving for goodness' sake. And we're going to talk about the differences of those two different donors that sit within two different lanes at your event or at different tables. And sometimes they could be the same one. So donor number one, we'll call donor number one our transactional donor or transactional buyer. This is the type of donor that is at your event and they love to give and raise their paddle and gets to go into the live auction. You know, it could be 25, 30, 30, 30,000, 35, 35, 35, 40,000, 45, 45, 5, 50,000, 50, 55, 5, 60, 70, 70, 80, 90, 90, so that you got it, Bobby D. $100,000. Yay! What did I win? I won something, a trip to the Caribbean. Maybe it was an awesome sports package in the suite and you get to go down on the ice and drive the Zamboni. Or maybe it's a chef's package and you get to wear the chef's coat and get to invite 10 friends and have wine and eat food and learn how to do things and all those fun things. Or like this particular weekend's client, parking spots. That's right. This weekend, we sold a gangload of parking spots. Well, we sold 7. But for the particular client I've been working with for the last 7 years, I absolutely love them. A private school in Scottsdale, Arizona. It is the most expensive real estate in all of Scottsdale. True story. It's on Tatum Boulevard, and there are 3 parking spots in the front, and there are 4 parking spots in the back. And we sold those parking spots for a total of $202,000. You're like, what? What? How much is like, what? Why would you do that? Well, why would our donors do that? And I'm Googling right now, how many square feet in a parking spot? So here we are. The average parking spot is 153 square feet. So we're going to do some math. 153 times 7 is 1,071 feet. $202,000 divided by 1,000. Isn't this great? You see my math skills? So it's $188 a square foot is pretty much what it has sold for. And the reason these parking spots do so well is because there are very, very generous transactional donors at that event, and they love the action. They love the auction action and the auctiontainment of the bidding that happens at the auction. They like to bid on the parking spots, and sometimes they'll bid, a lot. Sometimes they'll bid a little, but it really does become that. I mean, it's a proverbial boxing match. And here in the future, mark this for me, Mr. Producer, that we'll put a little clip right here. So envision a clip of me going 5, 10,000, 15, 25, 30, 35,000, 40 sold, $55,000. Thank you so much. And that's what they wanted to do. That's how they wanted to give on that evening. And those 7 particular donors gathered together and almost gave an average of, 30,000 apiece. So good stuff. And they love the parking spots. Now you're like, why are they paying $188 a square foot? Well, the reason they are doing that is because, again, they love the school. In the instances I talked to the donor, he had 2 granddaughters, and he needed to buy both of his teenage granddaughters parking spots so that they could park in the high school parking lot in the back and not be late for school. That's a great reason. And he wanted to make very sizable donations. I mean, heck, I think he almost spent $85,000 on those 2 spots to help raise that money and help his granddaughters get to school on time. And then the parking spots that are in front of the school that sold for, $30,000, $40,000 a piece. Those are for the moms and the dads to be able to slide into the parking spot, drop the kids off, and then get out. Whereas usually, I guess there's this giant line of cars that goes all the way north and south on Tatum, and it takes forever to drop them off. So here's a chance they can scoot around the line, and boom, they have that wonderful privilege of parking right in front whenever they want, however they want, and whatnot. So, I also do want to thank all of my friends that are watching here on Instagram Live. Hey, what's up, Michael and Mary and all my friends that are there? I'm just going to say, hey, what's up? And if you're not following me yet on the Instagrams, please do at Bobby D Auctioneer on Insta. You can follow my lovely wife at Gala Auctioneer online, Erin. Erin is recuperating from the magnificent weekend that she had, and we'll talk all about that on the next podcast. So you get me today. So transactional donors, buying parking spots at a live auction is what we're talking about, and giving to get. And again, they gave lots of money, $200,000+ to get parking spots. They got asphalt is really what they got. They get to use that for a year. And this is, again, what we call transactional donor giving to get. So now we're going to flip that. We're going to flip that around and talk about a few other events that we were able to work with this weekend. So on Friday in New Jersey, we were working with an organization that helps those that are being impacted by homelessness. And their funding need was to raise as much money as they could for operational funds to continue to keep the program going. And at that particular event, I think there was like 300 people that was there. At the Saturday's event in Scottsdale, there was another 300 people that were there, and they were fundraising for remodeling of classrooms and improvement of the campus. And then Erin was working with a great group that is a choral group. It's a all-inclusive chorale that does some amazing work in that city and helps to help so many to spread the word about inclusion, equality, and raise awareness for racism and so many other just terrible things that are going on in the world to bring awareness to so that we can fix them. And their paddle raise was again, for general operating funds. And there was like 600 people at that. So again, we're doing math. Watch out, my brain is working on overdrive today. So 600, 300, 300, that's 1,200 people that we were able to invite to raise their paddle at that level that was inspiring to them. And it was great to see so many paddles that were in the air. That was an opportunity for each one of these groups to have 100% participation. So this is important to remember, 100% participation in the philanthropic moment. So this is going to be This is donor number 2 that's at your event. Now, donor number 2 is at your event to give and give generously and give without expecting anything in return. Well, they do want some things in return, but they're not expecting like an actual thing. They're not expecting an experience or a stuff or something like that. So that's really what they're there for, is to give to give. They're there to give and to help to give for whichever cause they are, that they love, and then that's why they're there. And many times the philanthropic donor, again, just wants to advance the mission. Maybe they're a long-term donor, maybe they're a major donor, maybe they've given in the past and they want to continue to give towards that future and keep giving. Many times a philanthropic donor might be a brand new guest, that this is the opportunity in which they are able to transform from just a guest that's there, it's eating the chicken dinner and eating all the dessert and drinking all the drinks and everything. It's that second, it's that moment that we make the ask and we go like this. We raise the paddle. And when they raise the paddle, they are now transformed magically from a guest into a donor. And for that particular donor, maybe they didn't want anything in the silent auction or in the live auction or in the raffle or whatever it might be. Maybe they were there to give. And whether they were moved by the story that we told, and each event had its own story, and let me bring that. Okay. Whether they were motivated by giving towards the story, or maybe they were motivated to give because of the relationship they had with the host that brought them to the event, that invited them to the event, or a combination of many things. But philanthropic donors are really motivated, again, by the impact. They're motivated by the mission, and they're motivated many times by their own legacy agenda. You're like, what, Bobby, what? Legacy agenda? What are you talking about? Well, I'll tell you, legacy agenda. Every person in this world, I mean, I would hope to think every person in this world that has a soul that says they want to leave a legacy of some kind. As for me, I want to leave a legacy with you to help you do events better so you can raise more money and make a bigger impact. And then the ripples go out around the world and the world's a better place. That's what I want to do. I want to help lead that type of legacy. I want to make sure that I raise my sons to be amazing gentlemen that go out and do something for the world that is absolutely amazing as well, that impacts the world in somehow. That's going to be my legacy. Maybe there's donors that want to build buildings and have their name on the front of them, and they want to help educate people, or maybe hospitals, or different missions, or different things, and they want that to be a part of their legacy story. And while we're on this earth, we only have so much time and so much dollars and so much energy to be able to give. And an event is a great place for that to happen. And if there's a donor who has that alignment with a particular organization, they have that connection to your organization, and they also have the capacity to give. Those are three things that are so important to find your ideal donor: connection to the cause, capacity to give. It's a big thing. You got to have it. Connection, capacity. They have to have it. If they can do it, they're good. They're going to be a donor. And many times the guests, we're talking about the guests, will come to the event as a friend of the host, maybe a table, maybe a board member, maybe a committee member, maybe they bought a ticket off the internet. I don't know, but they're there for that. And with that, they have capacity to give. And then the storytelling is what connects the donor, the guest, to the cause, to the mission, to the impact. And when that happens, then they have capacity to give. They're going to give. They're going to raise that paddle. So there's the transformation that then happens. You can obviously see I love paddles, and that's I know if Erin was here, she'd slap me upside the head with it. So there's your two donors. Now, again, two different motivations. Motivation to give to get. I'm going to give, I'm going to raise my paddle, I'm going to buy something in the auction or in the silent auction or in the raffle, and I might win something. I'm going to get this thing. And I feel good that I gave the organization some money. I, was generous. It was helping with the fundraising, and then I got something. I'm like, yes, I got it. I'm going to go see Billy Joel in concert and sit in the front 2 rows, which rarely ever happens, but we have an auction coming up very soon that will have that, and I'll let you know how that goes. And then number 2, you have that philanthropic donor that's there to give. And that's the ideal donor. So we start to talk about fundraising events, and we start to talk with our clients about the 2 different donors that are there, and who are you targeting? Like, what is your goal with your event? Is your goal to raise a whole ton of money and to get a bunch of energy and get a bunch of excitement going on in that ballroom, and have a few of your auction buyers win the items? Now, there are some galas that's the only fundraising method. There's no silent auction, no raffles. It's just a live auction, and they raise a bunch of money, and yay, everybody feels good, and it was great, and it was fun. And then if they have 5 auction items, that means you have 5 winners. And let's say you have 600 guests at your event and you have 5 auction winners. That means there's 595 people that didn't get to make a donation. And now, yes, I know you're probably saying, well, Bobby, we put the donation card at everybody's table. We put the pledge card there. Nobody fills those out. I'm sorry. We've tracked this over the years. Nobody fills them out. And maybe if somebody fills them out, it might be for a nominal gift. It might be, something smaller than what we maybe mentioned during the paddle raise. People don't fill those out. It's 2023. It's time to get with it and get the right technologies in there to help you with that. So there you are. 5 donors, transactional donors that gave to get something, and you have 595 that are there. So how do you get that donation from the other 595? Well, that's where the paddle raise comes in. And then there's that opportunity again to engage 100% of that audience. So clients are approaching us, especially at Inspire Hearts, and asking us, they're like, okay, well, we have all these auction items and we have all these other guests, and we're trying to raise more money, and we want to include them within our fundraising. We want them to be a part of this community. It's like, okay, well, let's do the paddle raise. Let's make sure we do that well and do that effectively. And then we also ask them, it's like, well, what are your goals? Are your goals to, again, have that big energy or have lots of paddles in the air? And they're like, both. Like, okay, all right, well, we have to design your program to fit both different styles of donors. Now, and then we'll qualify the question with this is like, where in your event are we going to have the most focus and most attention? And when they have the most focus and the most attention, they are a energized audience and they're ready to go. That's when you fundraise. And many times there's the heart tugging story, the mission story, the testimonial speaker, whomever that gets up and then tells a story. And then that's when best practice is to do your paddle raise immediately after that. Some groups where we help them to make an adjustment is then we ask them, like, where are you doing your storytelling? Where are you doing your testimonial speaker? And they're like, yeah, so we're going to do it before the live auction because that's going to motivate people to bid in the live auction. Yes and no. Because again, remember, who would that storytelling be for? It would be for those 5 donors that are there for those 5 auction packages that are there. Because remember, those other 595 people are not going to be able to bid in that. I mean, I think the studies are showing that there's about a 10% of the room might actually bid, but you're only going to have one buyer per auction item. So 10% of 600, that's 60 people. So, you'll have 60 people raise the paddles and those 5 will win something. So you want to storytell, and you definitely want to tell, why we're here, and have that testimonial speaker, have that mission speaker, have that impact speaker right before you do your paddle raise. Because now, again, you are speaking to 100% of your audience. You're speaking to 100% of the room, which we hope and we encourage to become philanthropic donors. And that's a best practice these days, is to do the paddle raise first. And we've talked about this before: paddle raise first, paddle raise last. Go back previous episodes, links in the description below. But we can talk about why we would do a paddle raise first, or why would we do a paddle raise last. Long conversation on that. So anyways, live auction, that's for your transactional donors. Your paddle raise is for philanthropic donors. So I want to ask you a question. Can they be the same person? Absolutely, they can be the same person. They can, go and bid and win. And when they bid and when they win, they get an auction item. And then we get to the paddle raise and we ask for the paddle raise and they raise their paddle and they give. And now they are both donors, philanthropic and transactional donor. And they can be one and the same. So now the question that I get so many times is, well, Bobby, if we do the paddle raise first, then are they more inclined or less inclined to bid in the live auction afterwards? Well, that's why we're having this conversation today. That's why we're talking about this, because when you have those 2 different donors, they're motivated by different things. Like a transactional donor will bid, and this has been shown and this has been seen, that a transactional donor will bid up to $10,000 for a trip to Tuscany. Yeah, they'll bid up to that $10,000, and maybe they don't win. Maybe they get beat out. Somebody bids $11,000, and we know, especially as auctioneers and as fundraisers now, that person was willing to bid $10,000, and they have $10,000 in their bank account that they want to give you if they give you a trip to Tuscany. And if they don't win, then where does that $10,000 go? And then the common misconception is like, well, they'll give it in the fund to need. They'll give it in the paddle raise. Well, that's not always true. There's been times that we've seen the $10,000 bid and they're so excited. Yes, I'll give you $10,000. Oh, I lost for $10,000, but okay, I guess we'll give them the fund to need. And then we get to the $10,000 level and we're so excited and we're like, okay, friends, let's go. This is the time. Do we have that gift for $10,000? I think we need to get the cricket sound effect in here. But that's but that's what happens. Like, but wait a minute. We had donors that gave 10,000, they didn't spend it. Why aren't they raising their paddle for 10,000? Well, again, that's a transactional donor. They want something. You're not giving them a trip to Tuscany, so they're not going to give you the $10,000. They might give you 1,000. They might give you 2,500. They might give you 5,000. There's no science behind that. It's all feeling. It's all feeling within the donor and their generosity, their motivation to give. And yeah, so that's wrong. They're not going to give the same amount. And this is not a fact. This is, but we're going to put a disclaimer at the front of the episodes from now on that talks about these are all from real world instances and experiences that we have gathered over 20 years. But more likely than not, that bidder is not going to give you the same amount that they bid in the live auction in the fund and need. I'm sorry, it just doesn't happen. Total wrong misconception. So that's where you can do your paddle raise first, in which, again, what's our two different donors? Say it with me: transactional, philanthropic. Yay, good job, crowd. You're doing wonderful. You all get gold stars today. So when you then have that paddle raise, you do have that chance to then bring 100% of that audience together. And that's what we love about the paddle raises, is that it's all about bringing the community together, because you can't spell community without you in it. That's right. That's one of those cliches that we use a lot. So it is the, getting that community to gather around, create a collective giving experience, create a philanthropic opportunity in which everyone can give. And does everyone give? Not all the time. We strive for that 100%, and we strive to help 100% of the donors become those philanthropic donors. And then, yes, you'll have those transactional donors that are in there that do want to get something to, give. And then we do some what we call incentivized giving at the end of the paddle raise. There's so many different ways to do that. We got the last hero standing. We do the paddle drop. We do the heads or tails. We do the 100-yard dash, or the 100-box raffle, or so many different things that we can do to encourage those that are at the end to give sometimes. And that's interesting, because when we do our incentivized giving opportunities, you then have a chance to now hopefully draw out that transactional donor and help to evolve them into a philanthropic donor, with that hopes that they win something. And then hopefully for our philanthropic donors, that we can award someone with, with their generosity, and we can award that. Oh, hey, I've got an auctioneer. Doug just joined at Dancing Doug. Good to see you. Hey, Doug, if you would put a question in there if you got anything. We're talking about the two different type of donors that are at your fundraising events. And if you're seeing that, or maybe you have a comment on that, go ahead, type it in. We'll answer that here live on the air. So where are we at? So yeah, you can send and see questions here. Instagram, super easy. We can also do that if you're on Facebook, on LinkedIn, or on YouTube watching right now. You can definitely put that in. This is a live broadcast. Live. It's Thursday afternoon, coming from the Inspire Heart Studio. It's Bobby D again. Two different donors: transactional and philanthropic. So with the incentivized giving, we hopefully are transforming both of those types of donors into a donor, to get them to give, to get them to be a part of the event, to get them to be a part, most importantly, of your database, your donor management system. Why is that important, you ask me? Well, you're all fundraisers that are out there. It's all about fundraising. It doesn't only happen at the gala. So many times that we work with clients that we hear after the gala. Sometimes it's the morning after, sometimes it's a week after, sometimes it's 6 months after. They're like, remember that person that raised their paddle at the $100 level at the end to try to win that bottle of champagne? I'm like, yeah, that guy was great. Well, he just signed up to be a $50,000 sponsor for next year. And we've been trying to get a hold of that donor for so many years. We've never got him in the system because he hasn't made a donation yet. Well, he didn't win in the live auction, and he never didn't want anything from the silent auction, so he was not a donor. He was always a guest. But because of that transformation from a guest into becoming a donor, now they're able to cultivate that experience. They're able to cultivate the relationship and help steward that donor into giving a much sizable gift, that like that $50,000 sponsorship. Sometimes there's donors that give small amounts, and then they become board members, they become committee members, they become volunteers. And that's a big thing that you really want to have happen. And that's what fundraising is. It's all about relationships. It's all about building relationships, building that trust, building that we want the donors to like us. We want them to know us, who we are, what's the impact that we're having. But mostly importantly, we want them to trust us and to understand or believe that we are good stewards of their money. And that's why we storytell, and that's why we showcase the impact numbers at the end of the yearly campaign, and we talk about the lives that are touched through their philanthropic dollars, whether through transactions, whether through auctions, or through paddle raises, and through paddle raises. And one last thing that I do want to talk about real quick is there are clients that come to us and say, Bobby, do we have to have an auction? No, you don't have to have an auction, because sometimes with that auction, what are you putting into the culture of philanthropy at your event, or even the culture of philanthropy within all of your donors, your community that's there? And correct me if I'm wrong, or I'm going to ask you if you've been to an event where it looks like this giant yard sale with all of these giant tables with all of these baskets and all of those things. Um, Future Bobby put that video right here. I'll show you a video what it looked like this weekend. But again, this is the culture of this organization to have a giant silent auction. So that's lots of transactions that can happen and lots of really cool stuff that people can take care of. And then they've got the Grave Live auction, especially with the parking spots. So that community is they're very transaction motivated. They love the transactions, they love the stuff. And if that's the case and that's your community and your donor base loves that, you can keep doing that. You can keep building it. You can keep growing it. One thing that we are seeing in New York City is especially the shrinking square footage of apartments in New York City and beyond, and also the minimalist attitudes that are happening within life is we don't need a lot of stuff. We don't need to have a lot of stuff. We need a little stuff. And so many times we just want to give to give. And then there's organizations that are having that conversation with us. They're like, yeah, we just want to create more philanthropic donors. We want to create more donors, get them in our database. And we don't want to just clutter the event up with all of this stuff or take away from the mission of the organization with the live auction. Because sometimes that does become distracting. Sometimes it does become off-putting for some. Ooh, look at that. And then many times that you want people to be able to just give and give generously and put that as the focus and the culture in philanthropy in your event and within your donors. And that's where we've been doing lots of paddle raise only events where it is just pure philanthropy at the event. Tell the story, make the pitch, ask for the money, get the paddles in the air, and then celebrate when we're done. And you can do that in like 2 hours. We'll talk about paddle raise only events on a future episode. All right, my buddy at Dancing Doug says, agree. Simply someone who maybe plays heads or tails may had a lot of fun for $25, but didn't win, but now is inspired to come back and maybe participate at a higher, more generous level. Amen, my brother. High five. That's awesome. And we have a question from Facebook. What's our question from Facebook? You are an awesome inspirational auctioneer. You inspire people to be philanthropic. And how do you change hearts? Is that over time? That is a fantastic question, Janelle. I love all my auctioneer friends are joining us today. Janelle is a great auctioneer in Phoenix. We actually were able to work at an event a couple weeks together. Love you, Janelle. Good to see you on here. That is a great question. So here's how we can change those hearts. And especially for those donors that are at the event that had a great experience and they come back, you have to talk about the impact that their dollars are having with your organization. And now maybe it's a $25 gift from the heads or tails game, or maybe it's a $100 donation from the paddle drop. Maybe it's a $5,000 donation from the paddle raise. It's all about showing that impact that you as the organization is utilizing the dollars of the donor to make impact within the world. Now, this past weekend, we had 3 different types of events. We had a group that was creating homeless solutions. We had a group that was funding a private school, and we had an organization that was funding this corral that does so many amazing things. So what each organization is going to have to do now, first step, is thank you. They have to say thank you. You have to say thank you authentically, and you have to say thank you promptly and professionally as well. So my suggestion, here's a hot tip. I need to put some more of that fire. Hot tip. For all of my nonprofit gala holders that are out there, you should be sending thank you notes out the day after the gala, thank you emails, thank you after the gala, and thank you phone calls from board members. That is key. Our friend Penelope Burke, who talks about donor-centric fundraising, has actually done a study. This is science. This has been studied that if a board member makes a phone call after a gift within 1 day, that the chances of a donor to give again and to give greater is like 75, 85%. And all a board member has to do is pick up the phone and say, hello, donor number 123. Thank you so much for your donation. It was great. My name is board member Bobby D. You've made a huge impact. Thank you so much. You can leave a message. You don't even have to get that person on the phone. I know so many times we're scared to pick up the phone, but it starts with that thank you the day after. And then I know you all send out the tax letters that say that, your donation is X, or you purchased, this item for Y, and everything over that is tax deductible. I am not an accountant, nor do I play one on the internet. So please, you know, please re- consult with your professional advisor when it comes to that. So then the thank you, that tax letter goes out, or that thank you tax letter goes out, and not really warm and fuzzy. But here's how you, as nonprofits, can then grow and change the hearts from someone that makes a $25 donation or $100 donation or $500, whatever, is to then again show the impact over the year that that event has had. Now we have times where we have the pictures, we do the family photo, all the cards are in the air, and then we can resend that out because you as the donor was at our gala that happened on April 1st, 2023, and then now here we are October 2023, because we raised those paddles and we raised $200,000. This is how we impacted the school. These are the renovations that happened within the school. These are the number of individuals that are experiencing, that are no longer experiencing homelessness, that are working towards that better life. Or here is how the chorale was able to go out into the world to really showcase and show the inequalities that are out there and how we need to change that and drive that change. So it's showing that impact, that growth of impact that's out there. Yeah, Janelle's right. A simple thank you phone call can take 30 seconds of your life. So it's showing the impact of the event is a big thing, and you have to show the impact of the event. The dollars that you raised at the event plus this equals this. And it's huge. You've got to do it. Then that's where you make that connection from a donor with their philanthropy and the mission that you are holding equals impact. I wish I could draw on my screen. Dun, 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 dun. It's a fundraising formula is what it is. So if you can do that and you can do it well, then that's how you're going to continue to change that heart of the donor to continue to give more and more. And because they had a great experience, like Doug said, they're able to now invite, or they'll be motivated to invite their friends. They'll be inviting. It's 4:00 in the afternoon, and I have not had enough coffee. They'll be motivated to invite their friends who have capacity to give, and then this is where we can then start that cycle over and over. And if you can do that year over year over year, your transactional donor that bought a raffle ticket or bought a silent auction item or bought a live auction item, then you have that opportunity to now evolve that donor into that philanthropic donor. So do that year over year. You'll keep raising more money. You'll keep making a bigger impact with your gala. And it's really about making that impact. And then we all can picture as fundraisers that nice glassy lake. And what fundraising is we take that big rock. And I mean, we've all done this. I think I even still do this as an adult. And you got to throw it in the middle of the pond and it hits and goes, and then those ripples go out. That's what fundraising is. It's those ripples and how that impacts everyone that's around it. And many times as donors and as fundraisers, we really take out of perspective of what that impact is. Quick story, my stepson, Jack, Aaron's son, was talking with Aaron the other day, and guess what? This is so cute. He Googled his mom. And he was like, "Mom, you'll never guess what I saw on the internet." She's like, "What?" He said, "You're the best auctioneer ever." She's like, "Well, thank you. Yeah, I think the internet's right." Also, what happened is that he was able to look through a lot of the media that we're putting out, press releases that was out there. And then he's like, "Mom, how many people do you think you've helped in your life?" And Erin, being the wonderful mom that she is, she's like, millions. Maybe millions. She's like, "I don't know how many," because we never know and can truly conceive the impact that happens. Because if we were able to help, like at the private school, have that child have a better experience, have a better educational experience, become smarter, maybe they invent something that's super awesome. Maybe it's the cure for cancer, or a way that we can fly around the earth with zero energy, or maybe this was a story at the event on Friday night, is where the mother of our testimonial speaker was able to be helped by this particular organization. And because helped to the daughter purchase, or help, through school, but the part of the story was to help purchase a graphing calculator that she needed for math class. And that math class then helped to roll into it. Now she's graduating from college, and I think she's going to be a social worker, which is amazing. So that came from the philanthropy at an event from 5 years ago, because someone was generous and was able to go out there. So again, it's those ripples of impact. Doug, man, you are on fire today. A handwritten thank you note goes a long way to donors. It is a constant job of thanking, communicating, and showing the impact of your generosity. That's what I'm talking about. Show the impact, communicating constantly with your donors. And yes, a handwritten thank you note. My mom drilled into my head, literally and figuratively, you will write thank you notes to every one of the people that gave you a birthday present or a Christmas present. I hated it, but I did it. And then the people that, aunts and uncles and cousins, whoever gave me those presents, they loved it. And even now, receiving a gift, able to work with nonprofits, love to send out those handwritten thank you notes. So yes, hot tip right there. Whew. Okay. I think that's it. Thank you all. Thank you all so much for talking about the two different type of donors that are at your fundraising event, at your gala, and how you can bring them together, how you can evolve one donor into another donor, how you can encourage everyone within your audience to be the best donors they can be. That's what it's about. So if you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. You can send them to me directly on Instagram at Bobby D Auctioneer. You can follow our Instagram, which we are very soon, shortly going to be bumping up at I Inspire Hearts. You can follow us there. You can find us online, www.inspirehearts.com. You can find my auction business, calltoauction.com, or Aaron's auction business on the East Coast, starbenefitauctions.com. Yeah. So thank you again. If you do think about it, please thumbs up, subscribe on our YouTube, thumbs up, like on the Facebooks, LinkedIn, leave me comments. I'm getting more and more active on LinkedIn. I love the LinkedIn. I love that network that's out there. LinkedIn, we love you. And then if you're on a podcast player, especially Apple Podcasts, please write us a review. Let us know what you think. Let us know if the information that we are sharing with you is valuable. We think it's valuable because we get paid to consult every day, and organizations take this same information that we're sharing with you to go out and drastically impact their fundraising at their gala and beyond. So again, everyone, thank you for spending some time with us, watching and listening in. Thank you all. Need you all go out, be inspired, go change the world, go throw that giant rock into the middle of the lake and make those ripples go out. My name is Bobby D. Thank you so much for watching and listening to Heart of the Gala podcast. We'll see you next week.